Section 1. Why most cars don't die from hard driving. Here's a myth that needs to die. Most cars are not destroyed by aggressive driving. Engines are built to handle load. Transmissions are designed for torque. Cooling systems are engineered for heat. What cars aren't designed for is constant low-level stress that never triggers a warning. Mechanics often say this: the cars that die early aren't abused, they're worn out slowly. And that almost always comes from habits, not events. Let me describe the habit before naming it. It usually looks like this: short trips, repeated cold starts, low-speed driving, shutting the car off before systems stabilize. Nothing dramatic. In fact, many drivers think this is gentle on the car, but internally, this pattern creates poor lubrication conditions, incomplete combustion, moisture buildup, fuel dilution, and uneven thermal expansion. The car doesn't complain, it just remembers. Section 2. Why warning lights don't save you. This is where most drivers get fooled. Modern cars are packed with sensors. People assume if something's wrong, the car will tell me. That's dangerously false. Warning lights are designed to protect emission systems, prevent immediate failure, satisfy regulatory requirements. They are not early warning systems for long-term wear. By the time a warning light turns on, bearings may already be worn, oil may already be compromised, carbon may already be baked in, battery life may already be shortened permanently. Silent damage doesn't announce itself. Section 3. What mechanics notice first, but drivers miss. Ask any experienced mechanic what patterns they see. They'll tell you: engines with low mileage but heavy wear, cars with perfect service records but sludge inside, vehicles that never overheated but have brittle seals, batteries that test fine and then die suddenly when they dig deeper. The cause isn't neglect, it's usage pattern. One mechanic put it this way: 2 cars can get oil changes on the same day. One will last twice as long because of how it's driven between those changes. Section 4. Why this habit is worse in modern cars. This matters more today than ever. Modern engines use tighter tolerances, thinner oils, direct injection, aggressive fuel-saving strategies. These designs improve efficiency, but they reduce margin. That means small habits now have big consequences. What an older engine tolerated for 20 years, a modern engine might tolerate for 5 quietly. This isn't bad engineering, it's a trade-off. Fuel economy won, longevity became your responsibility. Let's talk real money. This one habit contributes to premature timing chain wear, $1,500 to $3. 0. Stuck piston rings and oil consumption for $1,000 plus. Catalytic converter damage, $1,200 to $2,500. Battery failure every 2 to 3 years instead of 6 to 8. Transmission wear from unstable fluid temperature, $3,000 to $7,000. None of this happens overnight. That's why it's ignored. This is important if you're realizing this applies to you. That doesn't mean you're careless. It means nobody explained how modern cars actually age. Manuals focus on warranty, not lifespan. Driving schools don't teach mechanical consequences. Marketing avoids uncomfortable truths. You weren't taught to think this way. Mechanics are because they see the end result. Section 5. Habit number 1. Repeated short trips. The foundation of the damage. This is the core habit everything else builds on. Short trips. 5 minutes to the store, 7 minutes to work, 10 minutes to pick up food. Each one feels harmless, but internally, short trips are brutal. Here's why. The engine never reaches full operating temperature, oil stays thick and contaminated, moisture doesn't evaporate, fuel doesn't fully burn. Over time, this leads to fuel dilution in the oil, acid buildup, sludge formation, accelerated bearing wear. Mechanics often say engines hate being half awake. Habit number 2. Shutting the engine off too soon. This one is subtle. After a short drive, many drivers shut the engine off immediately. What's the problem? Oil temperature lags behind coolant temperature. So, even if the temp gauge looks normal, the oil may still be cold, thick, unable to carry contaminants out. When you shut down too early, moisture stays trapped. Fuel remains in the oil. Acids keep attacking internal surfaces. This doesn't show up today. It shows up years later as stuck piston rings. Oil burning, low compression. Habit number 3, gentle driving on cold engines, done wrong. Many people think they're doing the right thing by driving gently right after starting the car. That's good if it's done correctly, but here's the mistake: driving gently for too short a time. Cold engines need low load, moderate RPM, enough time to stabilize oil flow. Driving gently for 2 to 3 minutes and shutting off does nothing. It creates repeated cold cycles, the worst condition for wear. Correct behavior: start, wait briefly, drive gently for 10 to 15 minutes if possible. Anything shorter is incomplete protection. Habit number 4, idling as warm-up. This is one of the biggest myths still alive. Idling does not properly warm modern engines. At idle, oil pressure is low, oil flow is minimal, fuel enrichment is higher. Moisture accumulation increases. Real-world testing shows idling 10 minutes often causes more contamination than driving gently. That's why experienced mechanics say idle warms the gauge, not the engine. The engine warms properly only under light load. Habit number 5, turning the car into an electronics lounge. Sitting in the car with the engine off, radio on, screen on, seat heaters on, phone charging. This silently drains the battery. Stresses the charging system, shortens battery life permanently, but it also creates a pattern. Start to short, drive to shut, down to drain to repeat. This keeps systems in constant imbalance. That's why cars use this way often. Eat batteries every 2 to 3 years. Develop charging faults early. Show electrical gremlins long before expected. Habit number 6, trusting the dash more than physics. This one is psychological. Drivers trust dashboards. If no light is on, everything must be fine. But dashboards show thresholds, not trends. Wear happens below thresholds. Oil dilution doesn't trigger a light. Bearing wear doesn't trigger a light. Moisture buildup doesn't trigger a light. By the time a sensor reacts, the damage is already established. Longtime mechanics rely on patterns, habits, oil condition, sound, and feel, not warning icons. Habit number 7, extended oil intervals plus short trips. This combination is especially dangerous. Extended intervals assume long drives, stable temperatures, minimal fuel dilution. Short trips break all those assumptions. Oil that could last 7,500 meters under ideal conditions may be compromised at 3,000 to 4,000 miles in short trip use. This is why two identical cars with identical oil changes can age completely differently. It's not neglect, it's mismatch. Habit number 8, never letting systems reset. Cars need recovery periods. Battery needs full recharge. Oil needs sustained heat. Exhaust needs full temperature to burn off deposits. When every drive is short, nothing resets. Everything accumulates. Japanese mechanics call this permanent partial operation. Engines are not designed for that state. Why manufacturers don't warn you clearly? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Manufacturers design cars to meet emissions targets, pass fuel economy tests, survive the warranty period. They assume average usage. They don't design for constant short trips. Urban only use repeated cold cycles because clearly warning against common driving patterns would scare buyers and reduce sales. So the responsibility quietly shifts to you. Habit number 9, I drive carefully so it's fine. The most dangerous belief. This belief kills more cars than aggressive driving ever will. Careful drivers often accelerate gently, avoid high RPM, follow maintenance schedules, trust the dashboard, and yet their cars still wear out early. Why? Because careful driving does not cancel incomplete operating cycles. If your car rarely reaches full temperature, rarely stays hot long enough, rarely resets oil, battery, and exhaust systems, then careful driving only slows visible symptoms. It does not stop internal damage. Mechanics see this all the time. Gekipt. Gently driven cars with worn internals. Habit number 10, never checking oil level between changes. This one is silent and it's deadly. Modern engines consume oil naturally. Even healthy engines. Thin piston rings, high temperatures, long intervals. But many drivers assume if it had oil last time, it still has oil. Wrong. Low oil level causes higher oil temperature, weaker lubrication, accelerated bearing wear. And here's the danger: low oil almost never triggers a warning light early. By the time the light comes on, damage is already happening. A 30-cond oil check once a month often separates a 250,000 miles engine from a spun bearing at 140,000. Habit number 11. Shutting down hot engines immediately. This habit feels harmless. You finish a drive, you park, you shut the engine off. But after highway speeds, hills, heavy traffic, hot weather, oil and metal temperatures remain high. Immediate shutdown causes heat soak, oil coating, seal hardening over time. This leads to a turbo bearing damage, brittle seals, increased oil consumption. Experienced mechanics recommend 30 to 60 seconds of calm operation after hard or hot driving. Not idling forever, just stabilization. Habit number 12. Ignoring small changes. Drivers dismiss slightly louder engine noise, mild roughness, faint oil smell, slower cranking because nothing broke, but these are early signals. Japanese maintenance culture treats small changes as warnings, not annoyances. Western drivers wait for failure. That waiting costs money. Habit number 13. Believing maintenance alone saves you. This is the final habit and the most misunderstood. Maintenance does not cancel bad usage. Oil changes cannot reverse fuel dilution. Fresh coolant cannot undo heat cycling damage. New batteries cannot survive repeated deep discharge. Maintenance supports good habits. It does not replace them. This is the habit that destroys well-maintained cars. So, what's the habit behind all 13 behaviors? Never letting the car fully complete its operating cycle. That's it. Not driving hard, not neglect, not abuse, just constant interruption. The car is always warming up, cooling down, charging partially, cleaning, nothing fully. Engines are designed for balance. You're keeping them permanently off balance. The simple fix, no money required. Here's the solution mechanics quietly follow. Once or twice a week, take a single continuous drive 30 to 45 minutes. Steady speed, normal RPM, minimal accessory load. This allows oil to purge moisture, fuel dilution to burn off, battery to fully recharge, exhaust to clean itself. It resets the system. That one. Habit reverses most of the damage we discussed. Do nothing. Trees Tau Toshi lies. A stony tuk stoshi dori and premature repairs. Change one habit. 0. That's the difference. Now be honest. How many of your drives this week were under 10 minutes? And when was the last time your car stayed fully warm for more than half an hour? Comment below your typical trip length, your car's mileage, and whether this changed how you think about driving. Because the biggest mistake isn't ignorance, it's repeating a habit that quietly destroys your car every single day.